Okay, so you said focus, bring your attention to a single point. I mean, that's what the word Zen means.
Lose yourself.
Lose yourself.
Completely die into that moment. Dying into every moment.
How do you do that?
By bringing together...
No, literally.
Well, what do you want me to do?
Do it.
Shout? No, I'm not going to do that. This is
Give us a mighty count.
This is not a sanzen. So we're not going there. It's just... It's right before you, right before everybody listening. Every moment is dying. And the next moment is being reborn out of that moment.
I guess, okay, here's what I'm thinking is, I'm just literally like thinking, you're in the supermarket, it's cold, you don't want to be there, there's bad Christmas music, your heart is aching because your marriage is tanking, you think you might be ready to lose your job, and then somewhere in the back of your head, you're thinking about this thing that this guy was saying in this video about Zen, right? Like, and you want something specific in that moment. You want to know how you can stop suffering, because that's the point of this practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do? What do you do?
Well,
come on!
You push the carriage. You look at the colors.
Okay.
You watch the little kids sitting in the carriage, all wrapped up in their winter jackets, and I mean. You're surrounded by love. You're surrounded by relationship. You're always in relationship, right? And so to actually let go of all of that crap that you brought to the moment and just die into what's surrounding you. These colors. We're in a freaking warm supermarket. We're surrounded by a huge warehouse of food. And you're miserable? Are you crazy? Like how many people throughout all of time would think that they had died and gone to heaven? You know, I mean, when if you can be miserable, truly miserable in that, then you're really stuck. You know.
Well, I think most of us are stuck. Okay, so let me ask you this then. So then you have that moment that you just described, right? Yeah. And then you go home, and it starts again. All the same problems, issues, and emotions and hang-ups, they arise again. And then you find yourself thinking, well, I died into it before, and that worked. What now? Because they're coming up again.
Well, the thing is, you've stopped. There's no reason to stop, right? So always, you find God in every moment, right? You lose. So God is divided in the world. And then God but in some sense, God is never divided, right? You can't divide that which is fundamentally boundless. So that's what we're always doing. So in the midst of an argument, you're not arguing. I said you can make an argument, an accomplishment that you want to win, right? And that's death. You can't win that. Or you can make an argument. A way to find zero, a way to die into every moment of that argument in such a way that the dying becomes the point of your arguing, not trying to win the argument, right? And when you do that, words come unbidden. Points that you may not have been able to think of because you were so flustered naturally bubble up and come out, you know? And it's like, oh my gosh. Did I just say that? You know, and so you're manifesting in a way that gets the job done better than you could ever have done with a fraction of the effort.
Okay. You talked about giving. We went off on a little bit of a... we focused on focusing. So Roshi and you've told me that there's two aspects of giving. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, there's two ways that we can give the self away. Really, four ways if we're going to look at Rinzai's fourfold analysis. But fundamentally, we can either initiate an action, right? So we connect from the inside out, right? So we can push our fist forward and lose ourselves in that action, and thank God that the world accepts that action, right? So that's a miracle that we can actually do that. That the world accepts when we push our fist out, or that accepts when we walk forward. You know, it doesn't always happen. We can't walk through a brick wall. You know, but we can usually get where we want to go, which is wonderful.
So that's like initiating.
That's initiating.
Proactive.
So the world is receiving our initiation.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is people are afraid to initiate. No, I can't. Oh, what happens if I don't make it? Or, oh, no, somebody else should do that. Yeah, and there's this victim mentality for people who don't feel like they're strong enough to initiate. They don't trust that the world wants them to walk forward, wants to receive what they give them.
Mm.
And then the opposite is also true, where people can only find peace, they have no problem initiating, but they have a problem serving others or supporting others or receiving, making room in themselves to allow somebody else to initiate into them. So when we see a flower, when we hear music, when somebody asks us to do something, when we would rather be doing something else, and they say, oh, could you help me clean up the kitchen? And you're like, well, I was going to go for a walk, or I have work to do. But so we put aside what we want to initiate, and we do and support somebody else's initiation, and allow that to and give ourselves to allow to support that and make that happen. So that's also giving. But the thing is, if you only can find peace by giving, then you become a victim. By supporting, then you become a victim. And if you can only find peace and you only feel good and feel like you're connected when you're initiating, then you become a tyrant, right? And everybody will hate you and run from you.
So initiating, being proactive, and receiving.
Yeah, and Roshi used to talk about expansion and contraction.
Yeah, talk
right?
about that a little bit.
Well, it's the same thing. And people may say, okay, which comes first, expansion or contraction? Which comes first, initiating or receiving? And of course, what's the answer?
Simultaneous?
Simultaneous.
Boom!
Right? Yeah, they're always, you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of perspective, right?
Yeah.
So, and everybody has to learn to play both sides of the game. You have to have both sides of the coin if you're going to flip it. There's no so this is reflected in the Zendo officers. We have the Jigijitsu, who's in charge of the overall atmosphere and not in charge of personal problems. And then we have the Shoji, who's not so concerned with dictating the general atmosphere, but rather is concerned with making sure that everything is supporting the program. Yeah? Supporting the individual. If you have a problem as an individual, you go to the shoji, whereas you don't go to the jigijitsu. And so we learn, everybody learns this. Like some people are great shojis, natural shojis, and crummy jigijitsus, right? Because they're too weak or they're too strong, right? But over the years, everybody knocks you into shape because they're complaining. This guy's too strong. This guy's too weak. This guy's not soft enough. This guy's too soft. And through this, everybody, you learn to, oh, okay, this is how it has to be, right? And then you get to the point where you're able to manifest. And once you get knocked into shape, then you can begin to really make it practice and lose yourself and orient yourself to finding the death of every moment. And then you find that, oh, when I orient my practice to the death of every moment, I'm doing just what everybody else told me to do all this time, but it comes out naturally. Yeah?
Yeah.
And so you work both sides of the circle, and it ends up in the same place.